less time in my job and more time in the things that give my life purpose. And so that's why I felt investing is going to allow me to kind of take this down and, maybe make income from another source passively. Welcome to Spur Equity's Spur Your Wealth podcast, your ultimate guide to passive income through real estate investing. Join us as we together discover the secrets of building wealth one passive investment at a time.
From expert insights to inspiring success stories, this podcast will inspire you and empower you to take control of your family's financial future so you can live life on your own terms. Welcome to another episode of Spur Equity's Spur Your Wealth podcast. We're your hosts, Param Singh and Param Singh. On today's episode, we're going to do something different. I will interview Spur Equity's co-founder and managing partner, Param Singh. Param, this shouldn't come to you as a shock because we've done this earlier when you interviewed me. But I think it'll be really nice and fun to really take a deeper dive into who Param is, right? What led you to what you're doing today? Your background has been corporate America, and now you're doing full-time investing. I think it'll be good to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and then also what led you to where you're here right now. And then last but not least, where you're headed, right? Where you're going from here. Talk to us about, who Param is. How long ago did you move here? What your journey has been, and then some of the challenges that you faced, within the job that you had before you started into real estate investing.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Rab. I'm really excited about doing this today. I think, we've talked about our story with individual investors and, family and friends that invest with us, but on a larger scale with everyone, this gives us a platform now. Our podcast gives us a platform to really share deeper dives into that story, like you said, and hopefully provide some inspiration of, someone who's in a similar situation that may want to do some of the similar things that we're doing. Mm-hmm. So, for me, my background is going to be a lot like a lot of our investors' background, a typical immigrant story where, my father came to the U.S. with less than $100 in his pocket. He moved from Punjab to Africa for a couple of years, to the UK, then finally the States. And so, he set his sights on the typical sort of American dream, really looking for opportunity. And so and I was very young when we came. I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. He worked hard. My mom and him worked very hard in various jobs. He put us through college miraculously, somehow, working so hard, put the kids through college so we can, not only have jobs, but have a career and be professionals with a good paying salary and, bonuses and the retirement account, everything that, people talk about with the American dream. Right. Like they sacrificed to sort of give us that and get the works. And so, my sisters and I, we've done that. We've went through college. We got good jobs. I started my career at consulting, management consulting, IT. And so I've been doing that for the past 20 plus years, and as an executive, a global management consulting firm specializing in the life sciences industry. So from a change from that, like I started looking at, kind of what they tell us, like, hey, just keep climbing that corporate ladder and, get a good job and get a good salary. And, this concept of financial freedom kept coming around to me. And people, sometimes we think like, oh, you have a great paying job, we're making six figures, and that's financial freedom. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not financial freedom, because what that means is I have to continue to work indefinitely to basically pay for the lifestyle that we've created. Yeah, we have enough money to put food on the table and buy nice things, but if I want to continue that, I have to keep working indefinitely to do that. And so that's when it kind of dawned on me, like, hey, that can't be the only, a job is a job, but that can't be the only thing. That doesn't really lead me to financial freedom. So, my wife and I then started doing some investing, right? And we did some, obviously, did the 401k and did all of that and did some stock market stuff where, we lost money and kind of got burned a little bit, but we still ventured back out, do what the things that you're supposed to do. But, you're running the numbers, you're like, that's not going to cut it, right? If I have to work endlessly to do that. So my wife and I started doing real estate investing. We recognized real estate as a great vehicle, but we invested in some single family on a smaller scale. And then ultimately which I think was the right move. It's just, it doesn't generate the types of returns that we're looking for on a passive level. But it's good to sort of venture into real estate because it's an asset that's a hard asset that's going to be, appreciating in value indefinitely, right? But recognize that the single family route, short-term rental route wasn't really cutting it. And so that's when, I partnered up with you. We were having some of the similar conversations around financial freedom and said, hey, what should we be investing in? Like you're investing in stuff, I'm investing in stuff. Should we be investing together and doing it in a little bit bigger scale? And, I talk about this a lot. In Punjabi, we have a saying, 1 and 1 is not necessarily 2, it's 11.
Absolutely.
And so that's what you and I, kind of talked about and said, hey, let's pool our stuff together and sort of have a focus of, where we want to be as a family. Your family and our family, we had very similar kind of goals. And that's when we started looking at small multifamily, right? We went pretty much all in on multifamily at that point. That was about 5-6 years ago.
Right. So let me have you stop here because I think, obviously there's a lot to unpack here, and I'd love to kind of just, pick your brain a little bit more. Obviously, our journeys are very similar, right? Immigrant families, parents came in, helped us, did all that. And so we're very fortunate that we are in any position that we're in, right? Just because we feel like, our parents and our just overall support, they did what they did so we could be here today, right?
Absolutely.
And so, like a vision that our parents have for us, a lot of parents have for their kids is that we want to make sure our kids succeed, right? They're really good. They have a good paying job so then they could live their life to whatever they need to do. So most of us have that mindset, right? We basically think 8 to 5 corporate America, keep on going above and above and above, right? And
Grind.
succeed
Right.
and succeed. So, and that's what you were doing, right? You were
what I was
succeeding.
doing.
You were succeeding for 20 plus years. That's what you did. You're an executive in corporate America. And then you started thinking about financial freedom, right? But what's wrong with
right.
making the money that you're making and not having stress of, hey, starting my own business, having investors and doing all that? Why did you, like, tell us a little bit about what was that spark that happened in your mind where you started thinking about financial freedom?
So a lot of it had to do with time. So, and getting my time back essentially, right? A couple things, I want to touch on. One is you're absolutely right that we're standing on the shoulders of our parents and our older generation that basically got us to a point where we can succeed in a professional career or a professional business. And, we're standing on their shoulders, right, to be able to do that. They also instilled this amazing work ethic, right? Like immigrants, work hard and you'll make it, right? Chasing that American dream. So they instilled us with this like incredible work ethic that, we're going to succeed no matter what we do, right? Because that's the mindset. It doesn't matter whether I'm starting a business or I'm working a job or, running a convenience store, whatever it is, like we're going to succeed. We just have a mindset that, we're going to make it. And that our parents gave us that. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with, finding your passion, corporate America, if that's what you want to do, or you wanted to be a lawyer or doctor or whatever. For me, the aha moment was I found that I was trading more of my time for that money. Yes, I was getting a great salary, good bonuses, but I was literally, I'm working 40, 50, 60 hours a week sometimes. And that's taking away from the things that were important to me, that I was passionate about, namely my family, my community, the local Gurdwara or, where the local community that we were serving. And so it was taking my time away from that I was passionate about. So I was like, how can I get my time back? And when I saw where my corporate trajectory was going, it was like, I have to actually spend more time. And so my aha moment, I'll tell you exactly. And I think you were there for my aha moment. I don't think I told you about it though, but it was one of the vacations that we took together, our families took together. We're sitting on the beach and all the kids were playing on the beach and, our wives were there, you were there, and I had to go back to the hotel room to work on a presentation or do some sort of meeting or something. And so every vacation I was like, oh, wait, I'm on vacation, but I'm still working. I still have these responsibilities. And so that was my aha moment. I was like, I can't, I've done this for 20 years. I can't see myself doing that for another 20 and sacrificing my time. I actually want to do less time in my job and more time in the things that give my life purpose. And so that's why I felt investing is going to allow me to kind of take this down and, maybe make income from another source passively, so that I could potentially walk away from, my job. It wasn't even actually in my thought process that I would walk away, but at least
Right.
somewhat reduce my responsibility, from a job perspective.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with it. It actually enabled me, my 9 to 5 hustle or 8 to 5 job, main hustle, actually obviously fed and enabled me to start my side hustle of investment, right? Because you need capital to be able to invest. And so my job allowed me to do that.
Correct.
But it became very clear to me that, I want to spend my time with my family and the things that give me purpose. And so that financial freedom kept resonating, that, well, I still have to provide for my family. How do I do that and still, reduce my time? So
Right.
this is what came out of that
That's beautiful.
discussion.
Yeah, no, that and you know what? It's funny because I remember that. I remember that time when you had to go and work on the presentation while we were
Yeah.
obviously enjoying and all
Yeah, I
that.
know. How
So
many times have that happened, right?
yeah,
And you're just like,
yeah,
man, I'm trying to spend time and make memories,
yeah,
right, with my kids
yeah,
as they're younger, and with my friends, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta go work, right?
yeah,
And so we
yeah,
so many times that we sacrifice, and it's like,
yeah.
and it's nothing wrong with
Sure,
sacrifice. It's just
sure.
that I hit that threshold, like,
Right.
no, I'm not willing to do
Yeah.
this anymore.
That was your time, right? I mean, that was your time to think different, to change your strategy, and then that led to where you are today. So today, you're not working in corporate America. That full-time job, in one sense, is over, and your other
Yeah.
full-time job has taken over, which is really you working for yourself now. So you're
Yeah.
co-founder, managing partner of Spur Equity, right? We started this company about 5 years ago. So far, it's been an amazing ride, right? We've done a lot of different projects together. I feel like our thinking is similar yet different, right?
Hmm.
Which makes us probably be more strategic in terms of the way I look at things and the way you look at things. So tell us
Yeah.
about you, what your strengths are, the job that you're doing today. What does that mean? To explain to our investors and our friends, what does Param do on a daily basis?
So for me, this whole company kind of grew organically. Like it grew from a selfish, I would say selfish nature,
Right.
right? Where a selfish need, that it was a need for my family, it was a need for your family. And we're like, hey, we got to go find investments that make sense for us to be able to get that financial freedom. And so that's how it started. And then it grew from that for, my sisters and my family and your family and friends and, people that are seeing the success that we were having and saying, hey, I also want to invest. And
Yeah.
so we started educating ourselves and educating others and saying, hey, yeah, let's find investments together that we can actually do stuff together. Again, 1 and 1 is 11
Yeah.
potentially, right? Not 2. And so that power of just kind of leveraging the success that you have and taking it to other people, right? That's kind of how it naturally grew, very, very organically. And I love that. And so the fact that we were passionate about what we want to do and provide for our family, I obviously wanted that for my extended family, right? And you wanted that for your extended family
Right.
and your friends, and giving these opportunities. And so that's how it naturally grew, and to a point where, like you said, like earlier this year, I walked away from my corporate job and said, hey, I'm going to focus solely on this because I'm actually seeing better returns, right, for the time that I'm spending on investments than the 60 hours a week that I was spending on my corporate executive gig. And so that was my decision to sort of move there and take that leap of faith that this actually has much more potential than the salary that I was getting. And it was a really hard move to make, but again, it's a leap of faith, right? That you're seeing some of the things that you want to be able to do. But the second thing is just doing something that you're actually passionate about and then providing that opportunity for others. So that's how this company kind of grew. As far as my strengths go, like what I do, and I love talking about this
Right.
because you and I are similar, but we are different, right? And I think that's what makes us, that's our strength. And
Right.
so I love giving this example that, I come from an IT background and a consulting background. And so I need a whole lot of information before I, kind of move forward. That's my consulting, right, background, that, hey, let's get the information, let's make an informed decision. And so what I do typically is analyze the deals, right? Like I look at investment opportunities and say, okay, how's this going to make sense? What are the risks involved? What are the projections? How do, running the spreadsheets and figuring out, okay, if we have 4 investments in front of us, which one is the best one to move forward with, right? That kind of thing. So that's what I do. And so I analyze, deals before we move forward. And the deals that you and I did together, it took me a while to kind of get on board because I was like, all right, what about this? What about this? And asking all the questions.
Right.
And then your personality, which I love, is we'll figure it out. And that's exactly what we did. Like, let's move forward. We know this is gonna work. We know it's the right thing to do. Yes, we don't know 100% everything about what we're getting ourselves into, but we'll figure it out along the way. And that figure it out attitude enabled me to be like, all right, good. He's got my back.
Right.
I got his back.
Yeah.
We know enough. We're making an informed decision. We bought our first apartment, bought our second
Right.
apartment. And yeah, we didn't know everything
Right.
that we needed to do, but we still more than doubled our own equity, for example, on our first couple of deals, and saw the success that we could do, and that was when we really didn't know a whole lot, right? That was 5 years ago, and now that we've done 16 deals, putting those two personalities together to be able to like analyze deals quickly and then move forward with the experience, the 20 plus years of experience that you have from real estate, to be able to like move forward on projects like that really is a huge strength. And so I love being able to find deals that both you and I are personally passionate about, that we're investing our own money, and then opening that up to our network and saying, hey, this is where we're putting our money. You're welcome to come along for the ride, right? Like, that's beautiful. Like, it's not, it's really saying, hey, I'm doing this for my family. If this aligns to you, you do it for your family too.
I love that. I think your analogy that you gave about 1 + 1 = 11, you just explained it, right? I mean, you just explained it by just talking about how you and I think, how you and I are different, yet we're still alike in regards to the business that we're doing, the company that we're running at Spur Equity. And sometimes that gives you power, right? That gives you wings, that you have my back, I have your back, right? We will ultimately make the right decisions for us and our investors and our stakeholders and our partners, right, together. But at the end of the day, we have to have, and it all starts with confidence, right? And so I love that about you, in the sense that you have that confidence. You took that leap of faith. If I said, hey, let's look at it on this direction, you didn't blindly follow, right? Because your attitude always is, well, let me ask a set of questions, make that informed decision. But 99.9% of the people just stay there, right? They don't take that leap of faith. They don't take that action. You took that action, and action equals results, right? And so we're seeing the results that we are doing today in Spur Equity. So kudos to you for actually taking that action. I took that action 20 years ago, and are there challenges? Of course there are challenges. There's going to be challenges. Look,
it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's exciting. It's nervousness, right? Like, I'm feeling all of those emotions at once because it's not, there's no stability there, right? Like, you have to make it work at that point. And walking away from a pretty big paycheck was really difficult, right? From a family perspective. But ultimately, it's like you said, you have to have that confidence. Like, no, I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
We're going to make this work. And I have enough kind of history, right, with some of the investments that we've made, that, hey, this is all going to pan out, and it's going to more than provide for the lifestyle that we've built around our family.
So give us an example that you talk about often about burning the boats. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I love this story, right? So we heard it at a conference. It was about a general, an army. Think about it. I don't know exactly which army or general, but like, think about this army and general. They had a navy. They had a bunch of boats, and they were going to go conquer an island, or they were going to go from their island to the mainland, and they were going to conquer it. And so this general, when they crossed the water and they got to the place where they were going to conquer, the general made all of them burn their boats.
Yes.
Right? So like, hey, this is it. There's no other option. You got to burn your boats. We're going to conquer or die. Right? You're not going back. There's no retreat. There's never going back. And so that's kind of what I did, right? When I left, corporate America, earlier this year, I made a message. I sent the email. I said, hey, look, this was great. I loved what I learned from here and everything, but I'm done. And this is what I'm pursuing. And, just making those public announcements, right? Making those public claims actually puts that accountability back on you. Like, hey, you said you were going to do this. So what's happening? Right. And I just put it out there because I have that confidence. I'm going to make it work. We're going to go forward. So burn the boats and move forward.
That's beautiful,
and
man.
action it.
Yeah, I first read that in the book Think and Grow Rich, I think by Napoleon Hill. But when I heard it again last year, and then you've talked about it, a bunch of times, I think it really resonates, right? I mean, that you have to be 100% in. And by not going back, you don't have a choice. You have to move forward, or you perish or you die, right? It's funny how psychologically your mind starts thinking in a different direction, in a positive direction, in my opinion, where you don't have a choice, but you have to make it work. So love that story, love that quote. So I want to talk to you regarding, you talked about passive investing, right? You talked about how you wanted that to be for yourself and your family, and then ultimately for your friends. So let's dig a little deeper into that. What is passive investing, right? And then also for folks, because not everybody will be able to lead a project, start a big
Yep.
company, and provide these investment opportunities for their friends and their investors. So folks who are in corporate America, people that you were working with on 8 to 5,
Yeah.
what would you say to them, right? I mean, people who are making good money in your network, you have, doctors and lawyers and business folks and just all sorts of people, all walks of life, right? They're doing what they're doing. What would you tell them about what passive investing is?
So, from my investment journey that I've tried literally everything, right? I've done the short-term rentals, I've done long-term rentals, I've done, the single family, the multifamily, even in house flips, right? We've tried house flipping. And so the coolest thing about real estate is there's plenty of ways to actually make money in real estate. You got to figure out what you're passionate about and, if you actually want to do any of that. But everything that I just listed is not passive, right? So people have this misconception that if I buy a single family home and I rent it out, that's passive income coming through. That's not passive. That's very active, right? So for those of you that have rented out, whether it's a long-term rental or a short-term rental, you recognize that is not passive income,
Right.
because you're the
You
one
gotta feel
listing
it.
it. You're the one putting it on, even if it's like apartments.com or Airbnb or whatever, and you have people that are going to be cleaning it and this and that. You're still the one getting the calls. You're still the one organizing all of that. So it's another job. And so I did that. We've done that, with Airbnb. We've done that with long-term rentals where you have, somebody in your house for a year. Yeah, you may not get a whole lot of calls for that one property, but it's still active because you're the one that's still, on the hook for maintenance when something goes wrong and all that stuff. So those are very active real estate investment opportunities and projects that anyone can do. House flips, same thing, right? Like I did a house flip with a buddy of mine thinking that, okay, we'll buy this house for whatever it is and, spend 20,000 on it and we'll sell it for way more. And yes, you can do that, but those are not passive opportunities. You have to manage that project. You have to deal with the stress. You have to deal with the time. And so that's one thing that I think that a lot of people don't recognize, right? That your value for your time. Again, my whole draw to this was I want to get my time back. And so when I started doing those, I recognized I wasn't getting my time back. I was spending more time doing those things. And I'm like, dude, I'm not getting what I wanted out of this.
Right.
And so, all of those things are perfectly good vehicles of return, but like you have to value your time. If you're still spending 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 hours a week on managing that stuff, you got to factor that in. Like, hey, am I getting good return for my investment, both my capital investment as well as my time investment? Okay. So passive investing is we do now is, again, we do a lot of different asset classes. We do large multifamily, which is like a 300 unit apartment complex in Dallas, right? There's no way that you and I can actually run and manage a 300 unit complex by ourselves. And so what we do when we buy those kind of assets is we put together a whole team. We hire a whole team that's going to be property managing the place, that's going to be doing the maintenance, doing the cleaning. We have employees, we have a property manager, we have asset management in place. So people are actually, managing the managers, as it were, right?
Right.
So everything is system driven so that you, I, and all of our investors are simply getting updates on how that is running. So it's akin to, so people want to think about what this means. It's as if I'm buying stock in Apple, right? I don't make decisions for Apple on a daily basis. I don't run their day-to-day operations. I have enough trust and faith in the way that they're running their company that I know I'm going to make a return on it. That's exactly the same way that this passive investment works on real estate, where there's a company established, which Spur Equity and other partners kind of put that company together and say, hey, we're going to go buy this $30 million property. And all you have to do is, like, if you believe in that business, we lay out the business plan and saying, here's what the company is going to do. We're going to take this $30 million property. We're going to make these improvements, improve the rent, and then ultimately sell it for $40 million, right? And make this return on the investment in 5 years. If you believe in that business plan, it's just like you believe in Apple's, or Microsoft or whoever else, Tesla's ability to make profits. You invest in that company, and then you just sit back and get the returns from that investment, right? Purely passive. You don't take a call. You don't have to field any calls. You don't have to do anything. Everything is already done for you. And so that really spoke to me, because it allowed me, and you know this, like, we've invested passively in a lot of deals, as well as some of the active stuff that we've been doing. And the passive ones are beautiful because we're literally not doing anything. We're just collecting our updates and collecting our check, our mailbox money. And so it's still real estate. You still own the piece of real estate. You're still deeded that. But there's a 1 and 1 is 11, right? There's experts that know what they're doing in property management. There's experts that know the market, the experts that know the clientele, the demographics of that apartment building, and they're the ones running it. So, like, for example, I live in San Antonio, you live in San Antonio. We have partners in Phoenix, right, that are running our property right now on a daily basis, and we're not doing anything, right? They're the ones that are actually executing on the deal, executing kind of daily, collecting rents, managing evictions, all of that stuff. And so we don't have to deal with that. And so passive investing in that scenario is exactly that. None of your time goes in there, only your capital goes in there, and you're just making a return based on how much capital, how much percentage you own of that entire project. That's just beautiful, right? So somebody who owns hotels, owns convenience stores, or is a doctor, is a lawyer, is a corporate executive like me, that, C-level executive, let's say, they want to approach that's their passion. This is an avenue. This passive investing is an avenue for you to be able to invest in real estate, but not put in any time, but still leverage all the expertise of everybody that's, putting that project together, putting that business together.
Yeah, no, thanks for explaining that, right? Because a lot of people don't understand how can somebody get involved in these big projects. So what I heard, as a recap, what I heard you say is that being a passive investor, you are still an owner of that real estate, even though you're 100% passive. But what I took away from this message that you just talked about is the fact that passive investing is a way to fuel your lifestyle, right? You're still involved in the deal. You're still making money. You're still making a return, but you're not doing anything active. Therefore, you're not doing their day-to-day work. You're not getting calls. It's just like investing in Apple, as you kind of gave an example of, but yet you're involved in it. And so therefore, you still have all the advantages of taxes, where you can depreciate this and you can get a negative K1, and that can help you hopefully lower your taxes from that standpoint, because that's one of the things that people talk about in real estate, right? And unfortunately, I know we don't have enough time to talk about this, but maybe in the next few weeks or months, we will talk about specifically for you and I, what does that mean? Why did we start buying these projects? Because A, obviously lifestyle, B, making money, but C, also we'll talk about passive investing, and we'll talk about depreciation and taxes and all that. But yeah, the way you explained was beautiful. Any last advice that you have for your friends, your family members, your investors? Just give us your final thoughts.
So, just leaning on that same concept of passive investing, I shared this kind of graphic that I created, which was basically a faucet, right? So, like, if your job is your faucet, your main faucet of income coming into your family, right? Which is great. Again, your business, your job, whatever. And that's what it was for me. What we need to do as anybody, this is the advice that I would give anybody, is add to that faucet multiple smaller faucets of passive income, right? So invest passively in, a real estate deal or a self-storage deal, or different ways of investing where you're purely not giving any time, but you're getting return of income passively. And so if you invest in multiple deals, then your passive faucets or whatever will actually, like you said, fuel your lifestyle to the point where if you had to, like me, leave your job, leave your main job, you're still making income without doing any work, right? And again, you don't have to necessarily leave your job, but the more you do that, I love this analogy. They said money's not everything, and and I'm not trying to say that, but money is like oxygen.
Yeah.
The more you have, the easier it is to breathe.
Right.
Right. And I love that. So like if you're working, then you're working because you want to do the things that you're doing rather than having to do the things that you're doing to put money, in your family's lifestyle. And so passive investing, as early as you can start that. And I know it's difficult, right, sometimes to set some money aside, but the best advice that I would try to give is when you get a bump in your salary or a bump in your bonus or something like that, rather than lifting your lifestyle to the next level, right, by buying things and buying expensive things and kind of doing that, try to invest some of that into something, because ultimately that's how the rich get rich. That's how the wealthy actually protect their wealth, is by investing. And so if we can, as a community, as individuals, kind of make that sacrifice to be able to hustle to a certain point and then invest part of your income into these kind of deals. That way, ultimately, if you're doing 1 a year, 2 a year, then ultimately, it takes time to get to a place. Like it took me 5 plus years to get to a point where I said, okay, now I can, leave my job. And so it doesn't happen overnight, but the more you do it, the easier and the quicker that you'll get to that place where you can say, okay, now I am truly financially free because I don't have to work for income. My money is actually working for me rather than me working for my money.
Absolutely.
And that's the place where you want to get, sooner rather than later, because it opens doors, right? You can do whatever you want at that point. You can work, you can open businesses, you can try a new hobby, you try a new business, travel the world, spend time with your family. Really the sky's the limit at that point.
I agree with you, Param. And by the way, thank you. I think your journey has been amazing. Thanks for sharing your story, and also obviously sharing the nuggets of wisdom. Obviously, we can see your passion. We can see the fact that you're coming from contribution. You want to educate not only yourself but also your peers around you, your family around you. So once again, I just would like to say thank you for joining us. Obviously, this has been great. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of Spur Equity's Spur Your Wealth podcast. Again, we are your hosts, Rav Singh and Param Singh at Spur Equity. Remember, as always, your journey to financial freedom begins with knowledge and action, where knowledge is power.
But action is a superpower. So until next time, happy investing.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Spur Your Wealth podcast. We hope you enjoyed the valuable insights and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and stay updated on future episodes filled with actionable tips and strategies.
If you want more information about our investment projects, visit us at SpurEquity.com. If you have an inspiring story to share and would like to be a guest on our podcast, email us at podcast@SpurEquity.com. Until next time, happy investing.